Hey, today I'm going to be featuring a dish that my mom created, and it's called chicken with almonds, and it's one of our family's favorites. It's become one of Jeff's favorite dishes. So what I did to start is I've got some, you can use chicken with bone in, you can use chicken tenders. These are thin sliced chicken breast, and I just salted and peppered them. And then I heated some olive oil, just a couple turns around the pan, and I've got it on a little above medium heat, so in between about medium high. And I'm going to start by just sauteing the chicken breast. And I'll have to do it in batches, which is fine. So I'll just start with a few. And you just want to lightly brown on each side. They're going to continue to cook later, so this is just kind of get them started. Okay, so the chicken has finished sauteing. You don't have to worry about cooking it through. Like I said, it's going to continue to cook later. So I cooked them, I would say, about a minute on each side, just enough to kind of give it a brown. Same pan. I turned the temperature down to medium. The same little bit of olive oil that's left in the pan. We're going to add about 1/4 of a cup, or about half of a small onion. And very important, like I said, salt as you go. So a little salt and a little pepper on your onions. Just kind of stir those. And these are going to saute just until they start to get a little translucent, so only a couple minutes. Okay, so you can see we've cooked the onions for a couple of minutes, so they've gotten lightly browned and a little translucent. And now we're going to add about 3 tablespoons of flour, all-purpose flour. A little more salt, a little more pepper. And you're kind of making kind of like a roux. You want to let the flour brown for just a minute. If you don't, you'll have that really pasty flour taste in your gravy. So it's okay that it's clumping some. No panicking. It's all going to work out. Okay, that's good enough. And now I'm going to add preferably sherry, but I didn't have any. And I'm going to use white wine, which works just as good. So just add some white wine to start deglazing. See, no worries. And chicken broth. And I'm just using one of these you can keep in the refrigerator. The sherry, I would say I probably added about 1/4 of a cup. Chicken broth, you're going to add about 1/2 to 3/4 cup. I would probably lean more towards 3/4 cup. And sometimes, as you continue to stir, your gravy will thin out. All these lumps will go away. You can see as you mash them, they're just disappearing. I'm going to turn my heat back up to medium-high to get it back to a boil. But just yeah, that was probably about 3/4 cup chicken broth, up to a cup, and depends on how much gravy you want. If you're like a lot of gravy or a little bit of gravy, and if you're real concerned and stressed out about your gravy, get a whisk and whisk it. But as it cooks, it will thin out. But as you can see, if you whisk, it'll just do it even faster. And it'll smooth out. Our gravy has come back up to a boil, and that will help it to thicken. And so now it's time to add our chicken back in. So we're adding the chicken just back into the gravy. And this is where it will finish cooking. And a point that I wanted to let you know is that when you buy your chicken broth, it's always a good idea to buy low sodium. That way you can determine how much salt is in your food when you're seasoning it. And I would not, obviously, I would not taste your gravy at this point. You need to just let it cook with the chicken in it. And then after a while you can taste it to see if it needs more salt or pepper. Also at this point we're going to add one of our main ingredients, which is tarragon. And I'm just using dried. I kind of crush it before I sprinkle it in. I would say altogether you probably use about a tablespoon. And then just give that a little stir to get it mixed in with all the gravy and chicken. Now I'm going to turn this down to a medium-low. And at this point, what you want to do is to just put the lid on it, and you're going to let it simmer. You don't want it to boil. You want to just let it simmer at a medium-low. If it's boiling too much at that temperature, turn it down to a low and let it simmer for about 45 minutes. If you're using a whole chicken breast on a bone or whole pieces of chicken on a bone like that, unlike this, you would probably want to let it cook for an hour. You want the chicken to be really, really tender. This, because it's thin chicken breast, may only take about 35 minutes. So anyway, put the lid on and then just let it cook. Okay, our chicken and the gravy have cooked for about 40 minutes. And the chicken's nice and tender. The gravy is nice and thick. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the burner off. And now I'm going to add about a half a cup of sour cream. And you want to turn the burner off because you don't want it to really boil once you add your sour cream in. And then you're just going to kind of work this in. Now, as you can see, I went back and added just a can of sliced mushrooms. This is not necessary. It's not part of the original recipe. I just like mushrooms. If you want to do fresh mushrooms, then when you're sauteing the onions at the beginning of the recipe, you can just slice up and saute your onions, your mushrooms with the onions in the beginning. Or, like me, you can add a can of canned mushrooms. As it's after you get all the broth and the chicken and everything back together in the gravy, and then just let it cook and simmer with the chicken. So you see it makes this nice, pretty, creamy gravy. And that's it. And in a minute I will show you what it looks like plated. Okay, this is the finished product, the chicken with almonds. As you can see, the almonds is really just at the very end, you just kind of top it with some slivered almonds. If you wanted, you could toast them. Also, something I wanted to say is if you're not a big fan of sour cream, which I wasn't as a kid either, but I always loved this dish, you don't really taste the sour cream. It just makes the gravy have this nice creamy flavor. So even if you're not a fan of sour cream, you still should try this. This is one of our favorite dishes. It is so good. I hope you'll try it.